Hi guys, this is Mr. Tan, and today we're looking at total quality management in hospitality operations. And the aim of the session today is to review the operational effectiveness of managing quality. So we're trying to understand the importance of quality in the hospitality operations, understand the concept of total quality management and its applications, and to try and apply total quality management to hospitality operations. So what do we mean by quality? Well, the totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bears on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. So, the totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bears on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. What are the implications of quality? Again, the implications of quality in the long term lead to the survival of the business, lead to the company's reputation in terms of their marketing strategy, in terms of their positioning strategy. It leads on to satisfied customers meeting their needs and the lifetime value of the customer, if the customer is to come back and recommend your accommodation services as opposed to another company. So the company's reputation is at risk in terms of perception of the new products, employment practices and supplier relations, in terms of the product liability, to reduce the risk in terms of things going wrong or defects, and even negative publicity and global implications. The improved ability to compete, because by you incorporating total quality management standards, benchmarking, empowering employees helps to reduce the overall costs of the business, and therefore reducing the costs within the profit and loss statement, hopefully to increase or improve your net profits to make you more competitive in a global environment. So again, all this leads towards better standards, quality, reputation, but ultimately it leads to the profitability and efficiency and productiveness of your business operation, the operations process. If we remember the inputs, then the transformation process of all the materials, and then the output. So it's that transformation process that we really want to focus on, the quality side, to improve costs. So there are two ways quality can improve profit. Sales gains via improved response rates, flexible pricing, and improved reputation. Flexible pricing to meet the needs at different times, improved reputation so people come back but they also tell their friends, and improved response, reduced costs via as we mentioned before, increased productivity, lower rework and scrap costs, and lower warranty costs. So these are going to lead to increased profits, and it's important to put these things into place. And we're going to look at these things, and you're going to think, well, these look pretty standard, and they look like common sense things to do. However, sometimes when your business is fast run, fast paced, sometimes understaffed and on demand, and you're trying to reduce the cost of your business by only having the required amount of people in your organization, then to get better productivity sometimes is difficult. But also to manage this whole process, to put into place the processes and practices that are required, can sometimes be quite difficult in itself, because people don't like change and it requires a lot more time. So total quality management, TQM, is a continuous process that works best when managers are also good leaders. So TQM is a particularly process that empowers all levels of employees to work in groups, to establish guest service expectations, and to determine the best way to meet or exceed those expectations. So so we said that TQM is a participatory process. So we need to get that participatory process because it's through the implementation of the people actually doing these tasks that is going to increase productivity, increase efficiency, and the way things are done, and to maintain the standards. But you've got to get the participation going between different people, between different departments. Very, very important. So there are 7 concepts of TQM. These include continuous improvement, and continuous improvement there are actually 3 different levels: 6 Sigma, employee empowerment, benchmarking, just in time, which is also known as JIT, Takachi concepts, and the knowledge of TQM total quality management tools. So we're going to be looking at some of these areas. So continuous improvement. So this denotes continued improvement of all the processes. It includes all operations and interested parties, including suppliers and customers, people, equipment, materials and procedures. And predominantly there are 3 levels of continuous improvement. The first level is to say, okay, we want to improve things, and so we have maybe a team of people to review and to go around and to look at the processes and practices in different departments, to creating change. And it could be anywhere. The next stage is for people to work together in teams with a specific aim and objective, and working in teams in partnership with the different departments to achieve those aims. And then the third level is basically to review first the overall aims, the mission, the vision of the organization, and then to have these teams of people to work together to achieve continuous improvement in order to achieve the mission, the vision, the aims and objectives of the business. So focusing their activities in specific areas. So we also have the PDCA model of improvement, and this includes 4 areas. Again, to plan, identify the improvement and make a plan. Do the test and of the plan. Check if the plan is working, and act. Implement the plan. It needs to look fairly straightforward, but it needs to be looked at and reviewed in terms of a little bit more detail. In terms of plan, well, who's going to plan? Is it going to be in conjunction with the manager and the employees, or the manager themselves? And because ultimately, in order to test the plan, you've actually got to get your employees to do the work. And in number 3, it says check if the plan is working. Well, how do you check? So you need some monitoring system and some documentation or processes put in place to be able to check these. And then the 4th part is to implement the plan, and then to implement the plan. But when you say implement the plan, you're talking about implement the new changes. So you're actually getting people to actually work in a different way, or work to the way that you want them to work. And again, that might require training and time. So this whole process is again a continuous process, but it does involve leadership, it does involve processes, it does involve documentation, it does involve getting people on board to do this on a regular basis. So it's not as easy as it looks. 6 Sigma. This is a program designed to reduce the defects, lower costs, and improve customer satisfaction. Statistical definition, 6 Sigma is a process in which 99.9997% of products will be free of defects, i.e. only 3.4 defects per million opportunities, DPMO. So this is a highly structured approach to process improvement, a strategy, a discipline. Okay, so we're saying that we really want over 99.9997% of products to be free from defects in terms of everything that we do. So if you're going and you've got the housekeeping, and the housekeeping you have the attendance in accommodation services, in terms of defects and in terms of standards of the room, again, you want to be 99.99997% productive in terms of everything being done according to the standards that they're supposed to. So it's a good target to have. So the Six Sigma DMAIC approach includes to define the critical outputs and identify gaps for improvement, to measure the work and collect process data, to analyze the data, to improve the process, and to control the new process, and to make sure the new performance is maintained. But implementing this does involve more. It's not as simple as it says, the 5 simple steps. It involves good leadership. It involves getting people on board to make this change, not in terms of a one-off, but in terms of a continuous basis. It involves having the data collection methods available. It involves analyzing the data, and all of this within a team environment whereby time might be tight and pressure might be high, so people are running around doing multitasking at any given time. So again, it's very, very important to put these into place with good leadership and good team empowerment, I would say. So again, this reinforces it. 6 Sigma, 2 meaning statistical definitions, 3.4 defects per million opportunities, DPMO, and a program, again, as we stated, to reduce defects, lower costs, and improve customer satisfaction. And again, 6 Sigma is data driven and profit focused to increase productivity and efficiency, therefore maximizing the resources that you have, therefore leading to lower costs within the profit and loss account in terms of expenses, and then higher net profits. 6 Sigma seeks to reduce variability present in the process. The goal of 6 Sigma, as we said, is to only have 3.4 defects per million opportunities over the long term. The next area is employee empowerment. I mean, when we talked about TQM and talked about continuous improvement and talked about 6 Sigma, within all those stages, I've mentioned that we need to create the change, and we need to get the people on board, because it's ultimately it's the employees who are going to be implementing this change, and you need to get them on board to do it effectively. So it does need good leadership. So employee empowerment, total quality management delivered through effective leaders results in empowered employees who are open about concerns and problems, and so resolve them more efficiently, take responsibility for their actions, and accept the authority to make decisions. And if you empower people, then ultimately it's the employees who actually may know better ways of actually doing things than the managers, because they are doing this job day in, day out, and they can possibly see where they should improve things. Obviously the manager will give them areas and goals to go for, but then ultimately I believe that it's the people who are doing this will ultimately have the experience to know what could be done in a far more efficient and effective way if you empower them. So employee empowerment, this requires involvement from employees in the product and process improvements. Over 85% of quality problems are due to the processes and materials. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, what techniques can we use to involve the employees, to get the employees involved and to take ownership of these? So there are various techniques, and these include, building communication networks that include employees, to develop open, supportive supervisors, to move the responsibility to employees, to build, a high morale organization, and to create formal team structures. And this is needed to empower the employees, because ultimately it is the employees who know exactly what needs to be done, where, and how things can be improved, and it's going to require them to actually make these improvements not on a one-off occasion but on a continuous basis to continually improve their processes and their practices. Benchmarking, selecting the best practice to use as a standard for performance, Determine what to benchmark. Form a benchmark team. Identify, benchmarking partners. Collect and analyze benchmarking information. Take action to match or exceed the benchmark. Again, benchmarking is very, very good, because if you don't have a benchmark, how do you know what the standards are? How do you know how long something should take? How do you know what quality standards should be adhered to? And what is the minimum? What is the benchmark? So for me, in all areas of work, whether it's the front office, whether it's the housekeeping and the room attendants, whether it's the linen duties, whether it's the spa, food and beverage, wherever department it is, front end, back end, you do need benchmarking within all the processes and systems. But again, what this comes down to is a lot of time and processes and documentation and collection of data, and then analyzing the data and then communicating that back. And then that's done on a continuous basis, continuous improvement. So again, something that needs to be borne in mind in terms of how you involve people, as we talked about before, in terms of empowering the employees. Very, very important. Total quality management tool. Inspection involves examining to see products or services are good or defective. Detecting a defective product or service does not correct deficiencies in process or product. It is expensive, and various issues include when to inspect, where in the process do you want to inspect. So again, inspection, very, very important to carry out. Maybe sampling to be representative of the total population, of a defined population, to make it representative, perhaps, and then that inspection, again, will involve time, data collection, data analysis, and communication back to members of staff. Inspection when and where? At a supplier's site, food manufacturer. Upon receipt of goods, the delivery, before irreversible processes, prior to cooking, during the production process, when production service is complete, before delivery to your customer, at the point of customer contact. Okay, again, some of these are very, very important. Upon receipt of goods, inspection to make sure that you've actually received the correct goods and not just signing the document before you've actually checked everything. So very important. Again, your manufacturer, your supplier's site, are they up to the standards, the quality standards that you're expecting? Because this is the food that your customers are going to eat. So the food that that they are supplying must be up to the correct standards. So therefore inspections and checks, very, very important. But again, this must all be built in to the process in terms of the mission, vision, aims and objectives of the restaurants to maintain the quality and the reputation and the overall profits in the long term. So examples of hospitality inspection includes an organization like the Hard Rock Hotel. What is inspected? The reception desk, the doorman, the room, the minibar. The reception desk, use customer's name. The doorman, how they greet guests, in less than 30 seconds. The room, are all the lighting working? Is it spotless? The bathroom, and so on and so forth. The minibar, is it restocked? And charges accurately posted to the bill. We take the organization, the Olive Garden restaurant. What is inspected? Maybe the bus boy, serves the water and bread within 1 minute. Again, the busboy clears the entree items and crumbs prior to dessert. The waiter knows and suggests specials and desserts. So again, these could be checked. Again, throughout the whole process and different departments, this could be put into place. So total quality management in the service industries. So service quality is more difficult to measure than the quality of goods. The service quality perceptions depend upon two factors, and these include, intangible differences between products, intangible expectations customers have on those products, So these need to be thought about when you're actually thinking about the service quality. So some of the tools for total quality management include three types of tools for different objectives. So you have tools in total quality management for generating ideas like check sheets, scatter diagrams, cause and effect diagrams. You have tools for organizing data like flowcharts, and tools for identifying problems like statistical process control chart or histograms. So again, these tools are available, but as we've said before, these tools kind of link in to generating ideas or identifying problems or organizing data. But you have to put these systems in place. Is it going to be by paper, and where is it going to be stored, and how are you going to analyze the data? Is it going to be done by computer? Well, if it's going to be done by computer, how are you going to set this up? How are you going to create the databases? How are you going to create the fields? Who's going to create it for you? Where is it going to be kept? And how can you run the reports to analyze the data, and so on and so forth? So you need to have the knowledge and information, the determination to do this, and bearing in mind, we all know what it's like, in accommodation services. Sometimes staff don't turn up, sometimes you don't have enough staff, sometimes you're rushed off your feet and you're running around doing a variety of different tasks. So then to do all this additional information in terms of quality checks, sometimes can seem a bit too much. But in the long term, they are necessary, and in the long term, they are going to lead to increased profits. So, a manager considerations in the service industries, the tangible component of service is important. The service process is important. The service is judged against the customer's expectations, and exceptions will occur. Service quality, what contributes to quality service? So we can see various things, including reliability, responsiveness, competence, courtesy, communication, credibility, how secure the accommodation services are, understanding and knowing the customers and understanding their needs as well. So this all contributes to the service quality. Service recovery, businesses must have a strategy for service recovery. The Marriott's learn routine is to listen, empathize, apologize, react, and notify. I like this one. I like the Marriott's learn routine. So quality management in practice, it starts with the customer research to identify your target market, to understand the needs of your customer, to look at the customer promise, to see how we plan, the operational planning, the standards of performance, resources required, training and development, service delivery, service recovery, and the service improvement. There's a video here, but we won't look at this now. Cost of quality, the prevention costs, reducing the potential for defects, appraisal costs, evaluating products and services, internal failure, producing defective products or services before delivery to customers, and external costs, defects discovered and delivered to customers. So again, we're trying to identify and reduce the amount of defects that would lead to inefficiencies, lack of productivity, and dissatisfied customers. So these are very, very important. So we can see here, total cost and quality improvement. Total cost is going to be decreasing over a period of time in terms of increasing the quality improvement. But in the beginning, you will have high costs to begin with. And as we see, in terms of the external failure and internal failure, as the time goes on, they will be getting, hopefully over a period of time, if you put these processes into place, then these will be reducing. So in conclusion, today we've, hopefully we've understood the importance of quality in hospitality operations, understand the concept of TQM, total quality management, and its applications, and be able to apply TQM, total quality management, to hospitality operations. But bearing in mind these elements are all interlinked, Six Sigma, benchmarking, empowering employees, continuous improvement, and data collection techniques of TQM are all interlinked in order to make the defects of Six Sigma, to 3.4 in 1 million. So again, what is required is good leadership. What is required is good documentation and setup to collect the data. What is required is good analysis of the data, and what is required is the empowerment, ideally, of staff to implement this themselves and to make this a continuous process, to aim for perfection, to aim for achieving the mission, vision, aims and objectives of the organization. And unless you empower the staff to do this, then it is unlikely that it will continue to happen with great success. So thank you today from Mr. Tan.